So you're starting to think about making a move potentially. You're getting a little bit older and perhaps you're nearing retirement, and those thoughts of what do we do with our existing home, they're starting to sort of happen in your mind. And you know what, it's a real privilege that once or twice a month I get called in to have those sort of conversations. Now, not necessarily to sell a house, but to have the conversation about how do you manage that transition. It's a huge thing. It's not a minor thing at all. You've been in your home for a long time. You may not have sold forever. How do you actually manage the moves? How do the finances work, and when is the best time to go? Of course, everything I'm going to say is more based on my observation, and every situation is unique. You need to seek financial advice, but my observations, let's talk about those, because these might give you some insight and give you some questions to ask, because when we start asking those questions, the answers of course start to appear. More often than not, those conversations are happening sort of in the mid-50s, nudging towards the 60s, and is this house with the stairs and the steep block or the pool out the back actually going to serve our needs as we get older? Indeed, it's a fair question. Very recently, a good friend of ours, about my age and early 50s, very fit person, stumbled on a footpath on the way to the shops, and there went the hip, and there went the house. Now suddenly she was selling in a situation where she wasn't necessarily in control. It was a forced move. It's the forced move which we're trying to avoid. It's the move that where we want to be in control. We want to be in control of a move before we need to. And I suppose that's the biggest tip, is to have these conversations before we have to. If we're getting to that point of where we're physically frail, what's physically frail? The example I always give is if you go to the grocery store and you get them to put everything into one of those boxes that apples come in, and you're carrying that back into the car and putting it into the boot, if you can still manage that, you're doing all right. If you can't manage that, maybe it's time to have a think about making that move. The other thing that we really need to look at is, if we are going to think about moving, which mightn't be for a few years yet, is having a conversation about the cost of that move. And look, there's usually a cost involved, either short-term in a transition, or that we're upgrading to a nicer, newer home, maybe on a smaller land parcel. So we're talking about mortgages and finances. Let's talk to your mortgage broker, because as you age, your capacity to borrow money actually diminishes. So we need to be doing those sort of having those financial conversations while you're still earning an income. So important. So have those conversations before you stop work, definitely before you retire. If you are going to stay in your home, have conversations that changes your home to such a way that you can stay for a long term. If you end up being mobility impaired, it's also a thought that we need to have. Now, you might be running marathons at 89. That might not always be the case. A simple trip down onto the footpath and life changes very, very quickly. So we need to be mindful of those things. How do we manage that transition? By planning 3, 4, 5 years out in advance. And that's the conversation that I'm always encouraging people to have. A real estate agent isn't just there to sell your house. A good real estate agent can help you manage that transition years in advance. I'm Marco Wenzel from Harris Real Estate. I'm here at the beautiful Hallett Cove Beach, where it pays to be local.